Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Powercast. So today I have a good friend of mine, Jo, and she is a business and marketing coach. But what we're actually talking about today is something new that she's been stepping into, which is numerology. Now, numerology is something that I have heard about and know a little bit about for probably over a decade now, but haven't really dug into at a deep level. And Jo and I were just having a chat before we pressed record, and everything she was saying for me was spot on. So I'm really excited for her to share what we were just chatting about and more, and for you to get some insights into what numerology is, why it's important in business and in your life, and of course, if anyone has, I don't normally say this, but if anyone has any questions afterwards, after listening to this, you can reach out at any time as well to find out more about how this can work for you. So thanks, Jo, for joining us today.
Thank you, Ellie. So I'll just tell you my story with regards to how I found out about numerology. So I'd always been interested about it. It's always been kind of in the background. So, you know, if you're looking at a magazine and there was an article, I'd hone in on it. And then a friend of mine had a meeting about it. So I went along, and Richard Abbott was talking about it, and he spoke about probably for about 90 minutes about the subject. And recently, because I'm working with him now, he said to me that I was like this all the way through, like frowning, like really, and he said I look really angry. And I think because everything he was saying, I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It was like light bulbs going on. So he said that forget International Women's Day, because this was the 8th of March 2017. Forget International Women's Day, it's International Women's Millennium, because now we've left the 19s, we're in the 2s. So the 19 breaks down to a 10, which is the 1, which is very masculine. If you think back to Reagan and Thatcher, we had answers, we had questions. It was like yes or no. It was leadership, it was innovation, and that's what the 1 is all about. I'm a 1. And now we're in the 2, which is more like since the 2000, the year 2000. It's like being on a boat. So that the 1 wants to go from A to Z, and the 2 is more, you go A, B, A, B, A, B, and it's quite emotional. It's a feeling number. It's about security. It's about safety. And he said, and it's a feminine number. It's a feeling number. So I decided to stalk him. I went to a lot of his workshops. I bought his books. I listened to his podcasts, and now I'm working with him. And I've just finished a 10-week course at the London School of Psychic Studies. And it's so powerful and so interesting that I'm bringing it into my work. Now, as you said, I'm a heart-centered marketing coach. I work with holistic businesses. I work with women. I'm not going to, stop doing that. But when I understand where, from a numerological standpoint, my clients are coming from, what year they're in, what's missing in their names, what their superpower of their names are, which I'll explain to you in a minute. It's a lot easier for us to say, okay, so this are the energies that you're working with in your business. So here's how you can capitalize on them. Here's how you can enhance on them. So
it makes you not feel crazy if you're going through a year where you just want to take a break and, you're not go like you have been in the past, and then you find that out about yourself and you're like, oh, okay, I can take it a bit slower. Like it gives you permission in a way to go, okay, I'm not crazy. This all makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely, because in our industry, it's all about hustle, 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 push, 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 push. And sometimes you might be pushing against the tide. It's not your time to push. There are years to push, and you will be supported in the push. Like an 8 year is a harvest year, reap the benefits year. But a 7 year or a 4 year or a 9 year, which I'll explain in a minute, is not to do that.
Yeah.
So numbers are energy. Numbers are cosmic. They're deep. They're inherent. Everything's got a number. We've got 4 fingers, 1 thumb, 2 arms. Chair's got 4 legs. Everything is related to numbers. And numbers deal with quantity, so they're everywhere. That's kind of maths, but numerology is quality. So it looks at numbers at everything. Everything has a number associated with it. So it's sensing the energy of the numbers. So it's part information and part intuition. Now, one thing Richard says a lot is there's always 2 questions. So there's like what's going on in your life, but what's really going on. So it might be that you're having a difficult time in your business, and that's top level. But what's underneath that? And the numerology helps you look at what's underneath that. It's do you remember Take That when they were 5 with Robbie? The energy of them being a 5 was very different to when he left and they were a 4. Which was very different from when Howard left and there were a 3. So you can really feel into that experience. 5 is about expansion, 4 is about structure, 3 is about having fun. And you see them now and they're having a right laugh. It's a communication energy. So it's you can go down loads of rabbit holes with it, so it's good to keep it top line. There's 3 things we look at mainly, which is your destiny number, the first initial of your first name, and then the personal year. So it's not about saying you are a number 1. It's about saying you're working with the energy of a number 1. It's not a way to predict the future, although when I was looking back at 1966 when England won the World Cup, that was a 22 energy year, which is like a massive master number. So we were quite supported. This year we're in 11 year 2018, so again it's a master number, so we're supported for big things. But it's interesting way of looking at things.
When you said before about it's not about saying you're a number 1, it's about the energy, can you explain that a little bit more? What's the difference?
Yeah. Okay, so we can it's like we can put labels on things. So if I was to work out Ellie, born on the 15th of August 1986, which it adds up to 2009 because we had it down that way, and then you're an 11. So we could say you're an 11, but it's more saying you are a spiritual teacher, you are a guide, your prime motivation is to have ideas, to be the light. So that's a lot more, that gives us a lot more to work with than saying you're an 11. So it opens it up. We're not, because we could be working with somebody and then numbers are 5, and 5's all about freedom and expansion, but they could be in prison, but they're still working with the number 5 because they haven't got any freedom. We could be working with somebody whose number's 3 and they're the most shyest person in the world and they don't even want to go out the front door. And 3 is about communication and divine self-expression, but they're still working with 3 because they're deciding not to communicate. So it's about working with the energy of the number instead of labeling somebody.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so for example, with me being an 11, I've known since I was little that I'm a spiritual teacher, a guide. Ever since I was 3 years old, I wanted to be a teacher, and I went to university to study teaching. And when my life went down a different path, because I ended up getting in trouble with the police, and I couldn't be a teacher anymore. They wouldn't let me be a teacher, and I dropped out of university. And my mum said to me around that time, or maybe a little bit later, she's like, "You'll always be a teacher. It'll just be in a different way." And then when I started doing business coaching and things like that, it's like, see, you are doing it. It's just different to what you first thought. And I pushed down my spirituality. I stepped into it a little bit, but I pushed it down because of wounds from my past, because of my ex wasn't into that kind of stuff, so I didn't feel I could fully express it. My dad as well kind of pushed that down with my mum, and he didn't understand it. So I formed these wounds and these things in my head from men in my life of like, well, I can't express that because it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And when this year, when I separated, I was like, oh, I can fully step into my spiritual side, and I was fully supported in that. So that really makes sense in like, you have it within you. When you have that energy, it's like, are you either using it or pushing it down?
Definitely, because it's a journey, so we're always working with it. So the cake, 75% of the story is the destiny number, which it never changes. Our name changes, and when we change our name, we literally change our life. So but we're never going to change our date of birth, because we're never going to be, well, yeah, we could be reborn, but you know, we're not going to change that. So 75% of what's going on is the destiny number. So I'm a 1. I'm a 1910 1. I'm working with the energy of the number 1. 1 is all about innovation, leadership. It's meant to be about me. If I make it about somebody else, it doesn't work. And I have, because of my childhood, my patterning, always kind of been an overgiver, made it about everyone else, put myself last, and it hasn't worked for me. So now I'm putting myself first. I'm going solo. I said this to you before we jumped on the call, before we jumped on record, that I kind of thought that I was a bit of a car crash. I'd lived in 12 countries, had 23 houses, 15 boyfriends. I'm single. I haven't got children. I'm 45. And, you know, society says you should be married with 2.4 kids in a semi-detached. And that's not what I wanted. My soul doesn't want that. And it's not meant to want that. It's meant to be solo. It's meant to be independent. It's meant to be self-employed. It's meant to work for themselves. Steve Jobs, 1910 1. You know, it's that kind of energy. It's meant to lead from the front. So when I understood about my numbers, it's like, I get it. It goes. So we have.
I think as well, I'd love to add to that as well for everyone, if that's their number as well. It's like, if you are in a relationship, if you're not putting yourself first, then it's probably not going to work or work to your best, to your highest. Whereas if you're putting yourself first, it doesn't mean you have to be alone. It means that you can put yourself first in relationships, and that really lift you up.
Yeah, definitely. Because 1s and 11s, we don't need a loving relationship. 3, 6, and 9s, they need connection. We don't need it. We can want it. But if we come at a place of need, it won't work. So 9s, they have to make it about other people. It has to be about others. If they make it about themselves, it's such an ugly look for them, and it doesn't work. Sometimes a 9 can get really pissed off with giving, and people like taking advantage. So then they go, right, I'm going to make it about me, and they try and be selfish, but it doesn't work. It's like if 1s try and make it about others, it just doesn't work, and it's okay. So understanding this is like it gives you that permission.
Yeah, and like you said, instead of going to the other end of the scale, it's really about boundaries in that circumstance.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
So
cool.
we're always working. So it's linear. It's like this. There's so on each number, we've got so much to say about each number, and you could just talk about the number 11 for an hour.
Mm,
However, it's like this. So if we had a line, a number one that way would be really selfish.
mm,
That way, they'd be really selfless.
mm,
What we want to do is sit in the middle with
mm.
balance and
Yeah,
put our
cool.
head down and mind our own business.
Mm,
Because one, it's not about, they don't care about gossip, they don't care about what other people are doing. And they just need to put their head down and get on with it. And I know from experience that when I do that, I'm at my best.
yeah,
And
cool.
that's why they don't really work well when they're employed, because
Mm,
they just need to get on with it.
mm-hmm,
So understanding these things about your number, about your
mm,
challenges, and about the positives and the negatives, because everything exists in that, the yin and
mm-hmm,
the yang, the
mm-hmm,
light and the dark and the shadow. And it's like, I get it, I get it.
mm. Yeah, cool. That's awesome. Love it.
So that's kind of like the cake, yeah. And then the icing on the cake is the letter of the first name.
Mm,
So for you, so we've got your cake and you're an 11.
mm-hmm,
So the 11 is all about um, the spiritual teacher. 11 is about, it's a master number. So basically, you're a Mini with a Ferrari engine. And we know that, yeah? It's kryptonite. You can just do so much. You're capable of massive things.
mm.
And um, it's powerful, powerful, powerful.
Mm.
So the
You know why
11
that's
and
so funny as well? So, just to butt in there,
yeah,
someone actually said that to me recently, and he said to me like around my health and food that I eat. And he's like, if you eat one little thing that's off, that's not right for you, he's like, you're putting the wrong fuel into the wrong car. And
yeah,
he's like, that's why you're so sensitive with food, because
yeah,
he gave that exact example of the Ferrari, maybe different cars, but that same kind
yeah,
of example. And it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And he's
yeah.
like, that's why I can be quite sensitive sometimes to food or emotions or things like that, because I really am a high performance vehicle, and things that other people might be able to kind of get away with or deal with, it's like, no, that's not good enough for me.
No, definitely. And when we look at your name, I'll explain in a bit more depth, because you're missing a number, the same number that I'm missing, and it makes you even more sensitive. But the 11 is really sensitive, okay?
Mm,
So it's a 2, which is sensitive, but then some. So it's a 2 on steroids. So you've got edge, your rocket fuel, you're supercharged. We know that. You need to have a direction. But all this energy, sometimes you can direct it inwardly. There's
mm,
lots of magic, that you're constantly connected to source, you're cosmically connected to source. There's more 11s now due to the 2000s, the 2, when we work people out. It's indigo children, crystal children, rainbow children. No, it's
mm,
the shift. They're hypersensitive,
mm.
and you can be split personality. So there'll be this like business Ellie, and then this kind of cosmic Ellie.
Yeah.
And it's inspiration and genius. And when you get low, you can get low. You can get caught up in the negativity.
Mm,
So you do need grounding. You do need earthing, and it's like steeliness, this lightning. And the challenge is, you can get exhausted, hypersensitive. You can be very sensitive to alcohol and
mm.
allergies, not just sensitive to words and people,
Yeah.
but to different foods, like the
Yeah.
guy said, and
Hmm.
environments,
Yeah.
washing powder, to insect bites. It's that
Mm.
It is physically sensitive.
Yeah.
Sometimes the mindset, you can go from like, I can do it, then, oh, it's just too hard. So that's something to be aware of. They can have poor self-image, and sensitive things can, get on top of you. Food intolerances as well. So that's the kind of 11. It's the spiritual teacher. The other master numbers, 22. So Branson, he's a 22. Oprah Winfrey's a 22. Meghan Markle's a 22. So they're all here for change, massive change. So look at Markle. She, as a Black American divorcee, if she wasn't a 22, she wouldn't have broken into our monarchy. I mean, now, hold on to your seatbelts, but Trump is a 22. But again, he's here for massive change. And the only person who can scupper a 22 is themselves or another 22. It's the same with the 11. So Oprah's a 22, and there was thoughts about her coming in to the White House. So that's kind of the cake, the 11. And that's why I've gone back to it to talk about it with you, because it's 75% of the story. It's a big deal, so we don't want to gloss over it. And then we look at what's going on in terms of the initial of the first name, and that's why I said to you earlier, what's your name on your passport? And the E is the 5. So that's what people see. That's what they feel when they meet you. So say if you're going on a date, that's what somebody would be attracted to first of all before they really get to meet you. Now with me, the J is the 1 as well, because we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and then J. So it's a 1. So the E, A, B, C, D, E is a 5.
Okay.
So when people first meet you, they see the adventurer. You can do anything. It's expansion. It's outward. It's adventure. It's change. It's this kind of. Remember the girl at school who was good at gym and French and maths, and she was pretty. And it's like, oh, for God's sake, that's the 5 energy. And, when you're on point, when we see you, we see that 5. But then when we really get to know you, the 11 kicks in. So the 11 and 5 together, it's a pretty powerful mix, Yeah. It's quite, so with me, I'm a J and I'm a 1. So what you see is what you get. And if I wasn't 45, look 22 and sound 12, then I'd probably be a bit too much for people, because, it is very dynamic. It is very, I think I tailor it down. But you've got the 1 with me and the 1, and it is the 11. So you can feel people energetic.
Yeah.
So then the third thing we look at is the personal year that you're in. And for personal years, it's like every 12 months you get to be a different number. So we work in 9-year cycles. So in a 1 year, and I'm in a 1 year now, and it's all about new. We're seeding everything in a 1 year. And we're putting everything down, and we're just watching what grows over the next 9 years. So in a 1 year, it's like new, inspired action. In a 2 year, so if you're a plane, in a 1 year, you're like, whoa, let's take off. In a 2 year, you might hit a bit of turbulence. So in a 2 year, you do need a bit of patience and cooperation to water your seeds of the 1 year. So you're going to watch them a bit. In a 3 year, the plane, after hitting the turbulence, takes off. So it's a fun year. It's a good time to have a good time in a 3 year, a social year. In a 4 year, the plane needs to come down, it needs to refuel, needs to set back down, and it needs to just have a look. In a 4 year, cracks will show over the last 3 years. It's time to plan, it's time to have routine, it's time to bring it all down. In a 5 year, the plane goes off again, but in a different direction to the last 4 years. So we're going to expand, we're going to have adventure. In a 6 year, we're going to have some responsibility. It's all about families, community, more responsibility, more focus on, on our relationships, on our collaborations, on our connection. In the 7 year, we want to stop the clock. We want to retreat. We want to take time out. We want to reflect. We want to, nobody rings you back. It's like time for me. And we have to go there in a 7 year. Because in an 8 year, we're harvesting everything we've done over the last 8 years. It's a success on wealth year. 8 is a money number. It's reaping the rewards, property, success, wealth, more money, more expenses, but more money. And then in a 9 year, it's an endings year. So last year I was in a 9 year. It's a hard year, You have surprises in a 9 year. My grandma passed away the night before my 1 year birthday. I was sat in that chair there. I never sit down, I'm a 1. And I sat there and I felt her come to me, and then I got a phone call. So, and then I thought, because people go in a 9 year, and I thought, you've waited to the night before my birthday. And so I'm in a 1 year, and I can really feel it. I'm taking advantage of opportunities. I saw your post looking for interviewers, and I thought, yeah, let's go for it. Whereas I maybe wouldn't have felt that energy in another year.
Yeah. Does it go in order? So you said I'm in a 7 year now. So would I have been in a 6 year up until my birthday last week?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So the birthday to birthday.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
So and it's not about fighting it. It's about understanding and going with the flow, because a lot of people, walk around, as we know, with literally head down, and they just breathe from the minute they're born to the minute they die. They don't know any of this. But when I tracked back my last 45 years, I could see.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The endings. I could see the relationships. I could see, the letting go years and the new beginning years, and when I got promoted, and when I had, grief, and so it's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually got a tattoo last week that says, "Are we alive or just breathing?" And it's like, are we just going through the motions, or are we actually living our life fully? But when you said before that I'm in a 7 year, which is just kind of giving back to yourself, slowing down, I felt like that's been coming all of this year. And I have been working a lot less, and I have let go of a lot of stuff, but I've still been crazy jumping around from February until now. I've been in a different place most weeks. So it's like I've felt it coming on, and I have slowed down in some areas, but I have been physically moving around so much. And in a month's time, I'll have my own place where I will get my own base and get to settle down.
Yeah. No, definitely.
That makes sense.
And that's important.
Cool.
So we've done the cake, which is the destiny number. We've looked at the icing, which is the name. So we've got the 11, we've got the 5, and the candles are like the personal year. And really, that's the main things we need to know. And in this 10-week course, we kept going back to it and back to it and back to it. And I'm a 1, so I want A to Z. I want boom. But but it was really interesting going back over the importance of these 3 numbers. So at the moment, I'm a 111. So what happens to, if 1 was an element, it'd be fire. What happens to fire? If it's not built on strong foundations, it burns out. Yeah. So another way of looking at this is equating it to the tarot. So for an 11, it's all about justice. And you are, like, you don't like it if things I know. It has to be fair. You like to shine a light for the underdog. You want to cut through that situation.
And when I go to a negative headspace, I hear in my head saying it's not fair. So that's interesting.
And you know, the 1 is the magician, and the magic happens outside the comfort zone. So my comfort zone is pretty big. I speak on stage, and I write my book, and I launch my programs. But then the magic happens outside that. So things for me that are harder are saying no, putting my prices out. You know, I know they're not easy for a lot of people, but they're particularly difficult. And then that is when I get the results.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like really looking at what your card means, and tuning into it.
Yeah, awesome.
With the 1, so I've just had chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue, and I'm healing it through medicine and through some other modalities. But digital detoxing supports me. I've just taken the Facebook app off my phone. I've just got it on my computer, and it's so gorgeous. It's such a relief.
That's
so
cool.
It's things to support you. So if you've got a lot of fire energy, how can you bring in the water? How can you bring in the air? How can you bring in the earth?
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And I mean, so I could go on and on and on, but I mean, because we've got 4 roads and we've got, you know, our names, etc. But maybe we stop it there and let that sink in, and we could do another one another time.
I think that's perfect for now. And I guess as well, a few points that you've made there, because what I'm really about is helping conscious business owners, people who are, you know, they are conscious, they are spiritual, but they've probably been pushing it down, and they have been hustling for so long, and they might get burnt out and all these things you've been talking about. But when they actually tap into their spirituality, their sexuality, they're able to go with the flow and look at this numerology stuff as well, then they're kind of working with all of these things rather than pushing against it. So that all really makes sense with the people that I work with as well.
No, definitely. And a lot of the entrepreneurs, there'll be 1s or 8s, 11s or 22s and 5s, because it's that. And understanding that, and understanding other people, and understanding the other people in our lives, and equating it back to the tarot as well. The 1910 1, like, you're a straight off 11, okay? But the 19 is the sun. That's the light worker piece. The 10 is the wheel of fortune. So it stop, start, stop, start, stop, starts, hence me putting everything in the bin. So what I've got to work on now is the building. And the 1 is the magician. You can so see that.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Okay. Well, that's been amazing, Jo. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'd love to do a follow-up on with you at some stage as well. But for now, where can people find you?
So josoley.com, or hit me up on Facebook, Joanna Soley. And I am bringing this in. It's not on my website yet. I'm developing it. And I'm grounding it, because the 1 wants to just I'm putting it out there, reaching out to people I know. And then I am doing sessions. So and they're literally working out your number, your name, and your personal year.
Yeah, awesome. Perfect. Well, I'll put any links below with the podcast as well, and the video for YouTube. And if anyone wants to contact Jo, just contact her on those platforms. Thanks so much, Jo. It's been great chatting with you.
Okay. Lots of love. Bye. Bye.
Bye.